The court said, "Please have the jurors brought in."
Jury present.
The court said, "Please be seated." And the witness? "You may continue."
Ms. Strofa said, "So if we could show her again 60676." And the defense moves 60676 into evidence.
Mr. Finkel said, "Can I see the next page, please? And the last page?" No objection.
The court said, "It is admitted."
Defendant's Exhibit 60676 received in evidence. By Ms. Strofa.
So let's see if we can take a look at that, Ms. Chen. Could you read for us the first line?
I previously submitted a request on January 18, 2022, to activate the membership of GC Regard Order. I sent the payment on March 23, 2021.
Ms. Strofa said, and if we could scroll down to the next paragraph. Please activate the memberships accordingly. Do you see that line?
I don't. Oh, okay.
Ms. Strofa said, okay. And if we could just keep scrolling down. And then it gives the G Club's member legal name, correct?
Yes.
That's your husband, correct?
Yes.
Not you, correct?
Yes.
Ms. Strofa said, and if we could just keep scrolling down. Keep scrolling down. If we could just keep going down. And then it tells you, hold on, please, there's a ticket update time. Do you see that?
Yes.
It says, your request has been updated, correct? And then it gives you an option to add additional comments. Please reply to this email, right?
Yes.
Ms. Strofa said, okay. Keep going down. This email is a service from G Club's customer service, correct?
Yes.
Ms. Strofa said, okay. And if we could just scroll down. And that's the end of the document, correct?
Yes.
The membership is in your husband's name, correct?
Yes.
And you shared this document with we can take that down, with Mr. Finkel, right?
The email you just showed me?
Yes.
I don't remember so.
Okay. Do you talk to Mr. Finkel? You know what, I'll withdraw that. I'll come back to it later. Now, is it fair to say that there were several emails between your husband and G Clubs?
Several email?
Right. He emailed them more than once?
I think he reached out to the customer services to activate the free G Club membership that we were given.
Right. And you see Ms. Strofa said, can we bring that document back up? And if I could just show her, in summary. In summary, I have remitted. What's the dollar amount there?
100,000.
To cover these G Club orders, correct?
This is a standard language.
No. The question is, do you see the language that says G Club orders, yes or no?
Yes.
And then, the next line on the next page on the same page says, please activate the memberships accordingly, correct?
Yes.
Ms. Strofa said, you can take that down. Now let's look at GXVB14.
So that's a standard language the MOS farm asked us to put in the email, as I explained earlier.
Ms. Strofa said, Your Honor, there was no question before the witness.
Because they asked for that verbiage, so I'm telling you that's not the verbiage my husband writing there. That's the verbiage MOS farm gave us the template, in order to put the template in there.
The court said, so just carefully listen to the question and answer only what's being asked. Go ahead.
Ms. Strofa said, since there was no question pending, I move to strike the outburst.
The court said, it is stricken.
Ms. Strofa said, thank you.
By Ms. Strofa.
Let's look at GXVB14. You provided this document to Mr. Finkel, correct?
Yes.
And you testified about this document on direct, correct?
When you say testify, meaning I said about this document yesterday?
Yes, ma'am.
I honestly don't remember if I did or not.
Okay. The memberships were active until May of 2023, correct?
Sorry. What's your question again?
The memberships. Were active until May of 2023, correct?
I don't know where you see that.
It's a question for you.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, let's look. Tier 1. Active. And then it has an expiration date, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Tier 2. Active and an expiration date, correct?
Tier 2? Where do you see that, Tier 2?
I'm sorry. Row 2.
Okay.
Okay. And do you see all of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, say active, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And they were active as of May 23 until you called to cancel, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you know, sitting here today, that Mr. Guo was arrested on March 15th. You can take that down, Jorge. Thank you. That Mr. Guo was arrested on March 15th of 2023, correct?
Yes. GXBB 16.
Ms. Shrofa said, all right. Well, let's show Ms. Chen. You see that document, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recognize it?
Yes.
Okay. And that's Government Exhibit VB16, right? Do you see that corner little stamp over there?
Yes.
Ms. Shrofa said, okay. The defense moves to admit Government Exhibit VB16.
Mr. Finkel said, sorry, Your Honor. Just one moment. I don't think a proper foundation has been laid for this document, which is the witness's statements.
Whose email address is there on the corner?
Our joint email address.
Okay. You recognize this Gmail account, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let's scroll down. Who attached those attachments to the email?
We attached it.
Yes. Was it you or your husband?
It's our joint email account. I don't remember in this whether it was me or he attached it.
Ms. Shrofa said, okay. I think I laid a foundation and I move to admit it, Your Honor.
Mr. Finkel said, I don't think there's a proper foundation for the witness's statements.
The court said, I think there's one additional question that needs to be asked.
By Ms. Shrofa.
Did you keep your Gmail account and send a copy to Mr. Finkel?
Did I keep?
Did you keep this email and then send it to Mr. Finkel?
I don't remember what I sent to the government. I'm sorry.
How about to the FBI agent that you emailed?
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
But you recognize this to be an email from your and your husband's joint email account, correct?
I recognize this document you put in front of me. That's an email I sent from our joint account to G Club.
Okay. You sent it, right?
We sent it together.
Ms. Shrofa said, okay. I think I've laid a foundation, Your Honor.
The court said yes. It is admitted.
Government's Exhibit VB16 received in evidence.
Ms. Shrofa said, all right. So let's take a look at it. And if we could publish it to the jury, please. Dated May 14th, 2023, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it says, hello. I'd like to send the notice of my membership cancellation and request a refund of the 5 membership cards I paid for. Correct? Right?
You just read it.
Yes. And then you scroll down and then you say, I purchased the G Club's membership because it was marketed as an investment with stock and shares. Correct?
Yes.
And then you say you did not receive stocks or shares or any membership benefits. Right?
Yes.
It's May of 2023. And then you say it's an investment fraud, correct?
Yes.
And how many years after you first paid for this is this email sent?
You can count. I don't need to answer.
Ms. Shrofa said, Your Honor, could you help me out and direct the witness to answer the question, please?
The court said, so if you'll just answer the question that's before you, please.
Okay. Because to answer your question, I sent 2 payments, right? So which one do you want me to tell you?
Let's start with the first one. How many years between the first payment and May 14th of 2023?
Mr. Finkel said, Your Honor, I think this goes to the court's ruling, the amount of time.
The court said, I'll allow the question.
From March 2021 to May 2023, it's a little bit over 2 years.
Ms. Shrofa said, all right. Now let's take that down. And let's go to GXVB12T.
I don't see it show up yet. Don't look at me. Don't stare at me.
Ms. Shrofa said, I cannot see. I was literally going to my table to get my glasses because I cannot see that far.
The court said, okay, so no more testifying. Your job is to ask the question. Your job is to answer. That's the only thing that you should be doing respectively.
By Ms. Shrofa.
Do you see the document now?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recognize it?
Yes.
Okay. What is it?
It's the email communication with the Hamilton Opportunity Fund.
Okay. Ms. Shrofa said, Your Honor, may I just have a minute?
The court said, okay.
The witness said, the document, I don't see it.
The court said, there's no question at this time.
The witness said, okay.
Ms. Shrofa said, he's pulling it up, Your Honor. We're having a little trouble. There you go.
By Ms. Shrofa.
You recall testifying about this document yesterday, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, now you testified that did you fill out this document, by the way? Or was it your husband?
We filled out the form together.
Okay. And that form is dated June 30th, 2021, correct?
I think so.
Okay. Well, look at the date up on top. Maybe that will help you.
Yes, I said I think so.
And did you read the numbers 1 through 6 or 7 before you filled it out?
I think so.
Did you fill it out or your husband filled it out?
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
The court said, sustained.
Tell me how you jointly fill out one form.
So every time when we do this type of form, want to making sure we are filling out all the information correctly, so it's either me filling out, my husband sitting next to me checking, confirming I'm filling out the correct information, or I'm the one filling out that, he's sitting next to me, confirming that we're filling out the correct information.
And who was filling out the information on this one?
I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
All right. Well, let's scroll down. And if we could look at that question there on page 6. Do you see question no? 6?
Okay. Yes,
And the question is, have you participated in the borrowing from the Himalaya New York mountains of spice? Correct?
Yes.
And you answered no, right?
Correct.
And Mr. Gua had in fact done many videos saying you should get into the borrowing from the Himalaya New York plan, correct?
I don't know.
You didn't watch his videos saying that?
I don't know how to answer your question. Sorry.
You watched all Miles Gua's videos, right?
I don't think I watched all the videos.
You didn't watch all of them, only some of them?
He had videos every day. I don't think I can watch it, all the videos.
Okay. Well, do you recall watching a video about the farm loan program?
I don't remember specific about the farm loan program.
Do you remember Mr. Gua encouraging you to invest in the farm loan program?
I remember Miles was said to get the GTV shares through borrowing from the farm. Participating in the farm loan program, and that is for people who are not from the old chair. Because we already part of old chair that we had GTV share, so we did not do the farm loan borrowing.
Okay, but you had GTV shares from the old chair, correct?
Yes, but Miles Gua also said participating in the.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. Nevertheless, you invested, according to you, in G membership only to get GTV shares, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, mischaracterizes.
The court said, sustained.
And you invested in G Club membership, according to you, to get the shares, right?
Mr. Finkel said, objection, Judge.
The court said, you're repeating the question. She's already answered this. Move on.
You did not invest in the farm loan program, right?
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
The court said, sustained.
Your husband didn't invest in the farm loan program, correct? Ms. Shrofa said, it's a different question. Did your husband invest?
You just asked me to read this question. Did we answer no? I said no.
So your husband did not invest.
I answered already.
So the answer is no, right?
I answered it's a joint form we filled out. It's no.
The court said, okay.
So when Mr. Govt told you to invest in the farm loan program, you were able to say no to him, right?
Because he said to get more GTV shares through the farm loan program. We already have the GTV shares. My understanding is for those who do not have the GTV shares, that are not part of the old chair, to invest in the loan program to get the GTV shares, so that's not applied to us.
Does it say there, doesn't apply to old chair?
That's from Miles was broadcasting videos. I have explained to you.
Okay. And when Miles Govt did the broadcasting videos for G Club membership, did he also say that if you have old chair shares, don't go to G Club?
So for that video, I remember clearly that it's for old chair to gain additional GTV shares. That in order to complete that investment, pay money to the G Club accounts.
So you'd get additional shares here too, right? If you did the farm loan program, you'd get additional shares?
Mr. Finkel said, objection to the form. We've been through this. She's answered why she didn't invest.
The court said, sustained.
Let's keep going down. You said no, right?
I did not.
Mr. Finkel said, Your Honor 3 times. At least.
The court said, okay. So she's established.
Ms. Schrofa said, it's okay, Your Honor. I'll move on.
The court said. She said no, so don't repeat the question again and again and again once you receive an answer.
All right. Page 6. We're still on page 6. Okay. And let's look at the next question. This one asked you if you participated in borrowing from other farms, and you said no, correct?
Yes.
Ms. Schrofa said, okay. Let's scroll down. And let's look at page 9 of the document. Now on page 9, on the top, right, it says, as of September 17th. Are you planning for an additional investment? Correct? And you answered yes, right?
Yes.
What year was this document?
This document was from 2021, so, you already asked me. I filled it out on June 30th, 2021, at the very beginning.
Okay, let's scroll down. Now, Mr. Finkel asked you about 13 to 2, correct?
Yes.
And when you met with him in his office, you went over this question with him, right?
Yes.
And he specifically asked you whether you or your husband filled this out, right?
I don't remember that.
Did Mr. Finkel ever ask to speak to your husband?
I don't think so.
Okay. And there were 3 options here, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The first option is only to purchase G Club card. Without purchase of equities, card annual fee is required, right?
That's the English translation of.
Ma'am, I'm only asking you about the document that's before you.
So what's your question again?
You did not pick the first option, correct?
That's correct.
You did not pick the second option, which reads, only for investment. Voluntarily giving up G Club card, no card annual fee is required, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then the third option is the option you picked. To participate in investment through card project, correct? And then it says purchase card and equities, correct, including.
That's incorrect. I explained it yesterday. The English translation was wrong.
Ma'am, listen to my question.
But you said, is it correct? I said it's incorrect.
The court said, so if you'll pose the question.
You picked option number 3 on this document. To participate in investment through card project, purchase card and equities, including upgraded card annual fee is required, correct?
I select the option of, to participate in investment through card project, distribute card and equities, including upgraded card, annual fee is required. I explained yesterday the translation here is wrong. So I cannot answer your question being that was correct, because the translation here is wrong.
Are you finished?
The court said, all right. So she has stated that she did not accept the English version here, and so that's the answer.
Ms. Schrofa said, okay. You filled out the English version, though, right?
Mr. Finkel said, objection.
The court said, Overruled.
Mr. Finkel said, but
You filled out the English version, correct?
That's incorrect. I filled out the Chinese version.
Ms. Schrofa said, okay. Well, let's scroll down.
Mr. Finkel said, Your Honor, for the record, this is a translated document that's stipulated to.
Ms. Schrofa said, that's okay.
The court said, there is a translated document so that the jurors understand. Go ahead.
Ms. Schrofa said, keep scrolling down. Scroll down.
By Ms. Schrofa.
And that's the end, right?
Yes, I guess.
Okay, let's go to the email itself. You see this email that you sent?
It's a Google response. I didn't send email to anyone.
Well, you filled out the form, right?
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
You filled out the form and you uploaded it, right?
The court said, the question has been posed and the witness has answered.
And after you did this in the Chinese version of this document, you reviewed it with Mr. Finkel in English, right?
I want to make it clear on the word. I did not review this document with him.
You didn't review this document, the attachments, with Mr. Finkel?
He showed me this document. I did not review because we just talk about what is review. And review is every page, line by line. I did not do the review.
Ms. Schrofa said, let's go back to page 6 and page 9. Let's just talk about page 9. You reviewed this page with him, right?
He showed me this page.
Okay. And what did he do after he showed you the page?
So he asked me questions.
And you answered them, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you didn't have an interpreter present, right, when you talked to him about this page?
So when Mr. Finkel showed me this document, he showed me the Chinese version that I submitted and then also showed me the interpretation. The interpretation version is shown up on the screen here.
Well, it's not interpreted, right? It's translated. It's a big difference. It's not interpreted.
The court said, so the witness is not part of the translation or interpretation process and so she cannot testify about this.
Ms. Schrofa said, okay, let's move on. Sitting here today, you said to the jury that you filled out the Mandarin version, correct?
Yes, I did.
And when you received this document, did you receive it both in Mandarin and in English?
The answer is no.
You only received it in Mandarin.
That is correct.
How about the PPM? Did you receive that document both in Mandarin and in English?
I don't remember.
How about the subscription agreement? Did you receive that both in English and in Mandarin?
I don't remember.
How about the forms that you signed when you signed up for the PPM? Did you sign those in English or in Mandarin?
That's back in 2020. I don't remember.
Ms. Schrofa said, okay, we can take that down. Now you testified about an H-coin offering, correct?
Yes.
And the H-coin initial offering was in November of 2021, right?
Yes.
And you purchased H-coin, did you not?
Did you say did I not?
Did you purchase H-coin?
Yes.
Okay. And you knew. You're a citizen of the United States, right?
Yes.
And as a citizen of the United States, you're not supposed to purchase H-coin, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, objection.
The court said, you may answer.
Mr. Finkel said, calls for.
Miles Gua asked us to use the Chinese identity to open H-coin account.
Miles Gua asked you to do everything. I understand that. My question to you was...
The court said, all right. Ms. Schroff, I've already told you do not testify.
It is your testimony today, right, Ms. Chen? That every single thing you did is what Miles Gua told you to do, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, mischaracterizes.
The court said, sustained. She has never stated that in her testimony, that Miles Gua told her to do everything. No.
Did Miles Gua tell you to do everything you did in this case?
Mr. Finkel said, objection to the form.
Ms. Schrofa said, it is a question.
The court said, sustained.
What did Miles Gua tell you to do that you did not do, according to you?
The court said, sustained.
Did Miles Gua tell you to invest in GDV?
The court said you may answer.
Miles Gua promoted the GTV to me.
I'm sorry?
He promoted the GTV investment.
Because he was GTV's promoter, correct?
Because he owned GTV, in my opinion.
I didn't ask you your opinion of whether he owns GTV, ma'am.
So that's.
Mr. Finkel said, Your Honor, I would just ask that Ms. Schroff just pose questions and not comment on the answers that the witness is providing.
The court said, Ms. Schroff.
Ms. Schroff said, I did ask a question, Your Honor.
The court said, but you also added a comment that was not a question. Ask questions.
By Ms. Schroff.
In each of your answers during your direct, you said you did each thing that Mr. Finkel asked you about because of Miles Gua's statements and videos, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, mischaracterizes.
The court said, sustained.
Your testimony, sitting here today, is you purchased H coin because of what Miles Gua said, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And at the time that Miles Gua told you, according to you, to purchase H coin, you were a citizen of the United States, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
The court said, sustained.
And knowing that you were a citizen of the United States, you knew that you should not purchase H coin, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, mischaracterizes, and asked and answered.
The court said you may answer.
Miles Gua asked me to use my Chinese identity to open and purchase H coin.
And you did that, right?
I did it.
And you did it only because Miles Gua asked you, right?
I did it because Miles Gua said H coin would go to the moon.
Okay, so there are two reasons. You did it because he said it's going to go to the moon and also because he asked you to use a certain PIN, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, object to form.
Ms. Schroff said, I'll move on. Whose credentials did you use to open the account?
Sorry. What's your question?
Whose credentials did you use to open the account?
I answered. Miles Gua asked me to use my Chinese identity to open account.
So you used your own Chinese identity to open the account. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
Which identity did you use?
The court said, sustained.
What document did you use to open the account?
The court said, you may answer which document.
It's a Chinese ID. I said it already.
Was your Chinese ID still valid?
Mr. Finkel said, object to the relevance.
The court said you may answer.
Yes.
And it's still valid today, correct?
Yes.
Now you testified about this phrase, H coin to the moon, right?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat?
You testified on direct to the phrase, H coin to the moon?
Yes.
Okay. And you told Mr. Finkel that you were impressed by that phrase, correct? I'll rephrase that for you. Did Mr. Gua's use of that phrase impact your decision about H coin?
Yes.
Okay. What price did Mr. Gua say H coin would rise to?
He said that it would be more valuable than Bitcoin and in the short term it will be reaching $100 very soon.
Okay. And how much was Bitcoin valued at that time?
I don't remember.
You don't remember, or do you not know?
Mr. Finkel said, objection.
The court said, sustained.
Did you know how much Bitcoin was valued at that time?
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
The court said, are you asking whether at that time she knew the value?
Ms. Schroff said, yes, Your Honor.
The court said you may answer.
I don't remember exactly how much it is, but it was like a 10,000, like some sort of item like 50,000, or maybe 40,000.
10,000, 50,000, 40,000, right? Any of those numbers.
So it's more than, I think it's more than 40,000, yeah, maybe back then. But I don't remember exactly how much it was back in that time.
Okay. Did you know back then that Bitcoin fluctuated?
Yes.
And you talked at length with Mr. Finkel about Mr. Gua's statements about the gold reserve, correct? On H coin?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know if there was in fact a gold reserve?
Sorry. Can you repeat?
Do you know in fact if there was actually a gold reserve?
I trust what Miles said.
So there was a gold reserve.
Are you asking me back, then do I? I'm confused with your question. What are you trying to ask me?
Mr. Gwa said there was a gold reserve, correct?
Yes.
As far as you know, there was a gold reserve, correct?
I trusted what Miles said.
Okay, so there was a gold reserve, right? Because you trusted him and there was a gold reserve.
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
Ms. Shrofa said, I actually don't have an answer, Your Honor.
The court said, sustained.
Did you ask anybody on the exchange to see proof of the gold reserve?
Mr. Finkel said, court's ruling, Your Honor. Objection.
The court said, sustained.
Let's talk about the H-coin white paper, shall we? Do you know what that is?
It's a document.
Okay, where is it found?
I don't remember. Somewhere on the Himalaya Exchange website.
Somewhere in the Himalaya Exchange website?
I don't remember, so I think it could be, yeah.
Did you read it?
Read it, but I don't remember what's in it.
You purchased over $500,000 worth of H-coin, is that correct?
Sorry. Can you repeat?
You purchased more than $500,000 worth of H-coin, correct?
I sent more than $500,000 to purchase H-coin.
I'm sorry. Did you say I said?
I sent more than $500,000, 500,000 to purchase H-coin.
Okay. And that was over a period of time and not all at once, correct?
Yes. I think between maybe January 2022 to February 2022, yes,
And the first time you did that, you put in $20,000, correct?
I don't remember.
You don't remember a $20,000 purchase?
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
The court said, sustained.
Did you keep a note of how many investments you were making on H-coin?
I'm sorry. I don't.
You don't what?
Don't do the thing you just asked me the question.
You don't keep a note of how much you invest.
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
The court said, sustained.
Did you keep an Excel sheet?
Mr. Finkel said, cumulative.
The court said, did you keep an Excel sheet?
Of what?
Of your investments.
Of H-coin? Of what?
Yes, of H-coin. We're talking about H-coin.
Like, what do you mean by keep an Excel document of H-coin?
Make a column saying, on this day I invested $20,000 in H-coin.
I don't.
At your first purchase, the H-coin price was 10 cents a coin, correct? Is that correct?
That's not correct.
Okay. Well, you tell me.
I think by the time I purchased, it's more than $40 or so.
And when you purchased it when it was more than $40 or so, did you purchase it on the secondary market?
When you say secondary market, you talk about buying market, right? Yes.
Okay. And you decided to purchase at the $40 price point, correct?
I purchased because Miles said it would go to $100 very soon.
The court said, so the question was whether or not you purchased at the $40 price point.
The witness said, the question was?
The court said, she said. And you decided to purchase at the $40 price point, correct?
I decided based on the Miles was promise of going to $100, yes.
And there was a time when you purchased at a higher price point, correct?
Yes.
And you purchased H-coin after his bankruptcy, correct?
I don't think so. I think the time I sent in the money is prior to February 15, 2022.
How about after the SEC litigation or before?
What SEC litigation you're referring to?
The SEC litigation you referred to yesterday.
The SE, about the GTV that was not proper registered or something? Is that what?
Exactly.
I think that's after that one,
So your purchase was after that, correct?
My purchase is in January 2022, and then I think that SEC thing happened before that, yes,
Okay. So SEC said to this man, you didn't do something correctly. And you decide to listen to him and buy H-coin, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, object to form, And the court's ruling.
The court said, sustained.
How many months after the SEC litigation did you buy H-Coin?
Mr. Finkel said, same objection.
The court said, sustained.
You had an initial allotment of H-Coin purchase based on the 10 cents price, correct?
I was allocated a quota of certain H-Coin at 10 cents per coin, and I paid for it. But I never had those coins.
Can you try, Ms. Chen, to listen to my question, please?
The court said, okay. So I'd like the parties to step up, please.
Continued on next page. At the sidebar.
The court said, so Ms. Schroff, you said. So SEC said to this man, you didn't do something correctly. And you decide to listen to him and buy H-Coin, correct? That's exactly crossing the line at this point.
Ms. Schroff said, that's the direct that they elicited, Your Honor. I'm not seeking to touch a topic they didn't bring out. They brought out the SEC litigation. Those were her words on direct, that he broke some regulatory rules. So I was literally trying to follow exactly what she had said in her direct to limit my scope to what was said in the direct. So not to go beyond that. That is all I was trying to do. Simply a matter of timing is what I was trying to show. That's it.
The court said, no. I think you're trying to show that despite what would have been an obvious warning that this is an extremely risky investment, she decided to do it anyway. That is what I think you're getting at.
Ms. Schroff said, I wasn't trying to get at that. I'm trying to show the timing. And I've repeatedly tried to show the timing because I put in the timing of the bankruptcy. I put in the timing of when she did the first allotment and when she subsequently buys on the secondary market.
The court said, so if you want to show timing, then you ask for dates. You don't say, essentially, the SEC warned you but you did it anyway. You ask for dates.
Ms. Schroff said, I didn't say SEC warned her. She said the SEC warned her. She said the SEC made a finding that he broke the regulatory rules. She testified to that yesterday.
Mr. Finkel said, she did not testify to that yesterday.
Ms. Schroff said, you are free to reread the transcript. She said the SEC fined him for breaking some regulatory rules. That's her testimony.
The court said, so what you need to do is ask for dates.
Ms. Schroff said, okay.
Continued on next page. In open court. By Ms. Schroff.
I'm going to come back to this topic in a minute. But I'm going to switch gears for a minute and talk to you about your volunteer work, okay? Now, Ms. Chen. You wanted to volunteer for the Mountains of Spice Farm, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you first wanted to volunteer, you said yesterday, in 2022, correct?
Yes.
That was your testimony yesterday?
Hmm.
In fact, you first reached out to volunteer in 2021. Do you remember that?
I remember I joined a group within the MOS farm and expressed that, my interest to volunteer.
Well, you didn't just express your interest to volunteer, you told them why you would be a good volunteer. Correct?
I don't remember. I think they have some specific things you have to explain to them before I could volunteer. Request that type of thing.
Well, let's see if we can refresh your recollection by showing you Defense Exhibit number 7014. Yesterday you said your first volunteer was in 2022, but today you agree it was in 2021, correct?
So I said in 2021 I started to express my interest, but I think my real volunteer work started in March 2022. Like truly doing something that is doing the true volunteer. Well, I started reaching out to express interest in 2021, and then, here, end of 2021, yeah.
Let's just go through the chronology together, okay? In December of 2021, you approached. Who did you approach? Do you remember?
I'm sure they were here.
I don't want you to look at the document. I just showed it to you to refresh your recollection about the date.
Mr. Finkel said, should we take down the document if the recollection has been refreshed?
The court said, you're showing the document now?
Ms. Schroff said, well, the witness had testified, you know what, I'll come back to the document. I'll come back to the document.
By Ms. Schroff.
You now remember, right, that it was in December of 2021, correct?
I think I mentioned to you, I expressed interest of doing the volunteer work.
Okay. And that was about December, early December, right? By December 9th, maybe?
I did not remember that, but since you just showed me the document, the date is there, yes.
Okay. And in December 9th, you reached out to a particular group of mountains of spice, correct? Do you remember that?
I reached out to a group. I don't know why you say a particular group.
What's the name of the group?
I think that was something related to the finance group.
All right. And you reached out to them and you told them what your qualifications were, correct?
I think that's their requirement. Before you express interest, talk about the volunteer work. You like to participate, they ask you to provide some background so that they know you, who you are. And see what other volunteer work that can be there that will be suitable based on your experiences.
And what was your experiences that were suitable for that volunteer work?
You already said I work in a bank.
Ms. Chen.
I work in a bank. I work in a bank.
What else did you tell them? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Ms. Schrofa said, all right. Well, let's show her again DX 7014. Take a look at the column on the right.
Mr. Finkel said, "What's the question?"
The court said, "We're waiting for the question."
Are you finished reading, Ms. Chen?
Yes.
Okay. Does that refresh your recollection as to what it is that you told them your qualifications were?
Yeah, that is what I said. It gave you a template, you have to explain your experiences. And that's what I filled out, based on the template they're giving us.
Where's the template in this document?
Mr. Finkel said, "The document is not in evidence."
Ms. Schrofa said, okay. Well, let's see. Is that your handle over there in the corner?
My handle?
Yes. Who's there on the photo on the left side?
When you say handle.
Who is Ivy?
That's a nickname I used when I register in the MOS farm.
And this is all your document, correct?
Yeah, this is my communication.
Ms. Schrofa said, let's just keep scrolling down. Scroll down some more. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Ms. Schrofa said, okay. Let's keep scrolling down. And you recognize page 2 of this document, correct?
I don't remember this one.
Okay. Well, let's go down to page 3. Who is Alwell?
That's a nickname my husband used.
Okay. And the page 2, do you recognize who you're talking about when I say my husband Alwell?
I recognize my husband. You mean I recognize my husband nickname? Yes,
Okay. And you're on Discord, correct? Having these chats?
Yes.
Ms. Schrofa said, okay. I moved DX 7014 into evidence.
Mr. Finkel said, "Your Honor, may I ask a question or two?"
The court said, yes, you may.
Voir dire examination. By Mr. Finkel.
Ms. Chen, these chats that you had, were they in Mandarin or in English?
In Mandarin.
And this English language on the side, did you write it?
No.
Do you know where that's from?
I don't know.
Do you know if it's right?
I don't know.
Mr. Finkel said, "We object, and if necessary, a sidebar may be appropriate."
Ms. Schrofa said, Your Honor, may I just ask her a few questions?
The court said, yes. Go ahead and ask a few questions.
By Ms. Schrofa.
You read Mandarin?
Yes.
Do you read English?
Yes.
Ms. Schrofa said, we moved DX 7014 into evidence.
The court said, so the question is whether or not the translation, in her opinion, accurately reflects what was written in Mandarin.
Ms. Schrofa said, I'm happy not to question her about any of the English language.
Mr. Finkel said, "Maybe we can approach."
The court said, so let's approach.
Continued on next page. At the sidebar.
Mr. Finkel said, "There are a few reasons why this is objectionable. The first is, we received these documents at 9:56 a.m. this morning, which is when this witness was on stand. There's no stipulated translations for this document at all. While the parties have had good conversations and have reached stipulations on most Mandarin language issues, That has taken time. The government experts have reviewed their proposals. Their experts have reviewed our proposals. We've been able to reach an accommodation. The court has been consistent throughout this trial that Mandarin language that's not translated cannot be admitted. We would have preferred to put in a variety of documents that were in Mandarin that we ourselves translated. But I've set a stip, we didn't do that. So that's number one is, this is a Mandarin language document which she has not had time to review the accuracy of the English translations. Nor could she, as Ms. Schroff in fact objected yesterday. She's not a 702 witness who is qualified to render an opinion about whether the English language is correct from the Mandarin. That's the simplest way to deal with this document. Number 2, she didn't authenticate page 2. She doesn't recognize it. Number 3, these are statements of the witness, so they're hearsay. And they're not inconsistent with anything she has said, so that's not a reason. And to the extent her memory needs to be refreshed, she can be shown this document. I didn't object to that. But we can't introduce it as an exhibit because of the Mandarin language. Because it's her statements and there's no proper basis. 3, I don't really understand the relevance. But maybe there is relevance. So those are the primary reasons.
The court said, "Are you looking to impeach her with this?"
Ms. Schroff said, "I was actually looking to put it in as well, but I will certainly use it to impeach her, number 1. Number 2, yesterday, when she testified as to her translation and her understanding of the Mandarin document. And again today, her understanding and her position that it wasn't accurately translated was in fact allowed. Mr. Finkel objected to my objection. And the court allowed the testimony to stand that she was of the opinion that the translation of that document was incorrect."
Mr. Finkel said, "That's not correct."
Ms. Schroff said, "I haven't even finished."
Mr. Finkel said, "I thought you had."
Ms. Schroff said, "So the record is just out there." And the court actually said she disagrees as to whether or not the translation is accurate. I think that happened today.
The court said, "So just going backwards, if they have not had a chance to have their translators review it, then it cannot come in. You can certainly use it to try to impeach her by showing it to only her."
Ms. Schroff said, "Okay."
The court said, "Okay."
Continued on next page. In open court.
The court said, "You may continue."
By Ms. Schroff.
In December of 2021, you were on Discord, correct?
Yes.
And on Discord, you sought to join the finance group because you wanted to volunteer in that particular group, correct?
I joined a group, sorry. What's your question? I joined a group because I want to volunteer?
In the finance group specifically, yes.
I joined the group, but not because I want to volunteer specifically in that group. I just joined the group.
Okay. Well, you told the group why you would be a particularly good person in that group, correct?
I explained earlier, they ask you to provide your background, so I provided my background.
Well, you did more than that, right? You told them you were eager to join the farm's finance department, correct?
Where did you see that?
Mr. Finkel said, "So this."
The court said, "So."
Ms. Schroff said, "The document shouldn't be in front of her." My question to you is, do you recall telling them on Discord that you were eager to join our farm's finance department to contribute my modest efforts? Do you recall saying that on Discord?
I don't remember that.
Let's show you again 7014.
The court said, "And so you don't have to read from the document. The only question would be, does that help you remember? Does that refresh your recollection?"
I don't remember I said that.
Just take a minute and read the document, and just the only question, as the judge said, was.
The court said, "The Mandarin version, if that is the language in which she was."
Ms. Schroff said, "Sure. There you go. It's right there on the left column."
So you ask me, so I think I said I joined the group, but not because I want to contribute in that group.
That wasn't the question, Ms. Chen. The question, maybe the judge can repeat it.
The court said, So the question is, does this help refresh your recollection as to what you said?
And what did I say?
That you were eager to join the farm's finance department. Eager to join.
I think, okay, when I say eager to join, it's…
The question only is whether you said that.
The court said no. The question is whether this document refreshes her recollection. That's the first question.
I don't remember.
Okay. And do you recall then telling them why you would be particularly suited to the finance department?
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
The court said, sustained.
Did you list your skills as to why you would be particularly suited to the finance department?
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered 3 times.
The court said, sustained.
Ms. Schrofa said, I did not ask that question, Your Honor.
I explained, asked me to.
The court said, so the objection is sustained, so don't answer.
What were the skills that you listed?
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
Ms. Schrofa said, I did not ask that question.
The court said, if you have a recollection, do you recollect?
The witness said, I don't.
Do you recall saying to them that you had skills in English, financial management, risk analysis, credit, legal compliance, auditing, business process organization, certified public accountant, certified internal auditor, education, MBA, over 10 years of experience at large financial companies in the U.S.?
Mr. Finkel said, objection, because Ms. Schroff is reading from a document that is not in evidence.
Ms. Schrofa said, I'm asking her if she listed those things.
I don't remember. I answered your question.
All right.
Already.
I'll show you again the same document to see if the document refreshes your recollection as to the last question.
The court said, the objection was overruled. Go ahead.
Ms. Schrofa said, show her the Mandarin language, please.
I don't remember.
Okay, let's move forward. Do you recall also on Discord telling, oh, let me go back to the question you were talking to?
The court said, so it's now 11:30, so we're going to take our half-hour break. Members of the jury, remember, don't discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. Don't permit anyone to discuss the case in your presence. Don't read, listen to, or watch anything that touches on the subject matter of this case.
Jury not present.
The court said, ma'am, you may step out of the courtroom. Don't discuss your testimony.
Witness not present.
The court said, is there anything before we reconvene?
Mr. Finkel said, Your Honor, I'd just like to understand how much more Ms. Schroff has. She's now had cross-examination for 3 hours. Ms. Chen was on direct for 1 hour and 10 minutes. The government's point of view is most of this is entirely irrelevant. But it would just be helpful to know. Because we have one more witness. We're trying to figure it out. We'd like to rest today. We were hoping to rest 2 days ago. I don't know if this is a filibuster to prevent the defense from having to present their case until Tuesday. But we're way far afield from scope and relevance and a host of other issues.
The court said, Ms. Schroff, how much more?
Ms. Schrofa said, Your Honor, this is well within the scope. Did the court want me to address that issue or no?
The court said, I want you to address the timing.
Ms. Schrofa said, I think about 45 minutes.
The court said, 45 minutes?
Ms. Schrofa said, Yes, Your Honor.
The court said, I'd like you to cut that back.
Ms. Schrofa said, We tried.
The court said, I'd like you to cut it back.
Ms. Schrofa said, I will definitely try, Your Honor.
Mr. Finkel said, Your Honor, may I just raise one other issue?
The court said yes.
Mr. Finkel said, just further to what was discussed at sidebar. The question that Ms. Schroff posed about the timing of the SEC settlement and her decision to invest after the SEC said, as Ms. Schroff put it, in effect, SEC said Mr. Gwid did something wrong, you still decided to invest. There's only one possible inference to draw from such a question. And that is that Ms. Schroff is suggesting to the jury that Ms. Chen, who she has emphasized many times over and over, was involved in risk management at a bank. Ms. Schroff's point is, Ms. Chen should have known better. That's the only point to draw, and all right. I don't want to.
The court said, so the date that I'm referring to is the date that she decided to make the investment. Ms. Schroff can raise, or whoever is going to do the summation can raise, the date of the SEC warning or statement, but not in a question to the witness are you to raise the SEC issue. Just the issue of when she actually made the investment, in other words, not to draw the jury's attention to the timing of the SEC's statement and the timing of her investment.
Mr. Finkel said, yes, Your Honor. I agree with that. And the government's concern, and we've articulated this in other instances. I think this is the best example of it, is the jury thinks, or we're concerned the jury might think. And certainly can be confused to think that if the victims are negligent or unsophisticated or didn't do enough research. There was another question posed. Did you reach out to Himalaya Exchange to ask if they had gold? Your Honor sustained that. The question in this trial for this jury is whether Miles Guo had intent to defraud. The intent and sophistication of the victims is not relevant. And I really feel, the government feels, that the jury is confused. And we'd ask Your Honor to consider giving an instruction, which is a correct statement of the law, so that there will be no confusion, and because the defense has never objected to the fact of that instruction as a practical statement of the law, we think it's appropriate.
Ms. Schroff said, Your Honor, under Litvak, I'm entitled to show what information this witness had access to. I reread Litvak. I consulted with the person who has a deeper understanding of it, and I believe the questions I asked were permissible. More importantly, this jury does not seem in the least bit confused. It seems like a very sophisticated, enthralled, and attention-paying jury. And finally, Your Honor, I am quite certain that the court's jury instructions, which will come after, I'm assuming, a day or 2 days break, this witness, we hope, will be a very distant memory for all of us. So for those reasons, Your Honor, I do not think any instruction at this point is needed.
Mr. Finkel said, may I respond?
The court said yes.
Mr. Finkel said, so Your Honor, after this witness, which I guess has another 45 minutes. So she'll be on the stand for 4 hours, in which she has been crossed extensively about what she knew, when she knew it, what research she did, and she's not the first witness to experience this. They're going to have a defense case, which is going to be filled with information from the white paper and all kinds of other things, all to suggest to the jury that they should have known better. And Ms. Schroff's right. I think the jury is very attentive, but we don't know what they're thinking about what they need to decide. And as they're taking this information in, given the 2 questions, there were several, but the 2 in particular that I referenced. Did you call the Himalaya Exchange and ask if they had gold? That's not Litvak. That's suggesting she should have made a phone call to the Himalaya Exchange and researched it. And then she did the same thing. And did you have Google? Do you have Google? And Ms. Chen said, yes. Of course I have Google. These are suggesting the victim should have done more. This is not a mix of information. An instruction here is appropriate.
The court said, so I don't know that you're right. If you can provide some appellate authority that an instruction at this moment would be appropriate, I would look at it. We'll start again at noon.
Mr. Finkel said, yes, Your Honor.
Recess. Afternoon session 12:06 p.m.
The court said, please be seated. I just received news that juror number 8 just received news that his daughter has tested positive for COVID. I have sent back a mask which number 8 has put on and we will just proceed from here.
Mr. Kumraju said, Your Honor, can I just note one thing since we're talking about jurors? I believe alternate number 4 this morning when I was riding up on the elevator approached me and asked if he could get on the elevator with me. I said no, why don't you take this one, and I conferred with government counsel. I don't think there's anything to be done. I just wanted to let Your Honor know.
Mr. Finkel said, "That's fine from the government's perspective. Your Honor." The government emailed Chambers a copy of Second Circuit authority regarding the issue we discussed before the break. Happy to answer any questions if the court has any. The government's view is that this case is on all fours with the situation that is before the court right now. In that case, the defendant disclaimed a duress defense, then testimony elicited information about threats. The government objected on the basis it appears that such threat information was confusing the jury about the appropriateness of that information. And the court mid-trial Judge Rakoff provided a corrective instruction mid-trial and post-trial. Second Circuit affirmed both instructions. We think both are appropriate here so that the jury is not confused and that the court deliver what is unobjectionably a correct statement of the law. And that's all the Second Circuit would review, is whether the statement Your Honor makes is a correct statement of the law, and based on the responses to the proposed jury charge. I don't believe that the defense has objected to the statement in the proposed jury charge that the sophistication of the jurors is not what is relevant to this trial, and they are not under any obligation to discover the fraud.
Mr. Kamraju said, Your Honor, I think, 1, there's a difference between a duress defense, which is obviously a defense that the defendant has to notify the government and the court of before. My understanding is Ms. Schroff's questions were targeted toward access, towards the access to the information. And Your Honor did rule that sophistication is a factor that the jury can consider under Litvak. I'm not sure that any kind of instruction is appropriate now. And I'm not sure that Peterson actually speaks to the appropriateness of it in this context.
Mr. Finkel said, not to go down this path again, but Ms. Schroff asked the witness, "Did you call the Himalaya Exchange and ask them if they had gold?" Suggesting, did you do research to determine that there was no gold? She also asked, "Did you know that Miles Guo was told by the SEC that he did an unregistered security offering on this date? And then after that date you invested again?" This is saying that there were red flags, which there were. There were red flags for this victim, but there's no reliance. It's a question of Miles Guo's intent, not their intent, and the jury is confused about this issue. This Second Circuit authority provides basis for the court to provide a mid-trial instruction in such circumstances. Your Honor noticed this SUA spont and called for a sidebar in response to Ms. Schroff's question about the timing of the SEC investment. This is not about access to information. They have done it through Ms. Chen. They have done it through other witnesses. They have tried to lay sort of subtext that the victim should have known.
The court said, "So I don't agree that it's appropriate to give the instruction at this time. So let's have the jurors brought in."
Continued on next page.
The law clerk said, "Jury entering."
Jury present.
The court said, "Please be seated. Members of the jury, Juror number 8 has informed the court that his daughter was just diagnosed with COVID, and I directed that he wear a mask, and so I want all of you to be very mindful of your health as we go along. And if you should be diagnosed with COVID, I'd like you to text the 3 numbers that we will be giving to you at the break. Alrighty, you may continue."
By Ms. Schroff.
Ms. Chen, in early December of 2021, you also on behalf of your husband asked for the opportunity for him to volunteer, correct?
I don't remember that.
Do you recall? Okay. Let me show you again the same document to refresh your recollection, 704. And if I could show her the Mandarin version, please, and the English version as well, whichever one she picks.
I don't remember I did.
Thank you. And did there come a time when both you and your husband were volunteering for Faith Night? Correct?
We're not volunteering for Faith Night, no.
You were volunteering in her group, correct?
I volunteering MOS Farm.
My question was, she ran the finance group, correct?
I'm not sure.
Well, didn't she tell you that you were welcome?
I don't remember.
All right. Let's go back to the document again. Does that document refresh your recollection that you in fact approached Faith Knight? And she is the one who said you and he are welcome?
Mr. Finkel said, "That's not the question that was asked."
Ms. Schrofa said, "I'm happy to rephrase. Let me try the first question again. Do you recall asking or directing your Discord chat to Faith Knight?"
I recall I expressed interest to join a group.
Right. And the group leader at that time was Faith Knight, right?
I don't remember.
Well, does that refresh your recollection, the document?
I don't remember.
The document that's on the screen?
I don't remember.
The court said, "So if you'll look at the document on the screen and then say whether or not that refreshes your recollection."
I have looked at this document and I said I don't remember.
And you also don't remember whether it was Faith Knight who welcomed you, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
The court said, "Overruled. You may answer if you remember that."
I don't remember. There are like different volunteers in MOS Farm. I reach out to someone first and tell us to provide the template. And then we follow the template and reach out to another person, so I don't remember who is who.
Sitting here today, you do know who Faith Knight is, right?
I do.
And let's move forward. Did you also know somebody named Octopus who was in the same finance group in December of 2021?
I don't remember.
And in December of 2021, you were aware, were you not, that Mr. Gore rewarded people who volunteered, correct?
I was not aware.
And you were not aware that Mr. Gore had produced videos and talked about the benefits of volunteering at a farm?
I don't think I recall.
There did come a point when they accepted you into the group, right? In December of 2021?
I think so.
And do you remember that was on December 9th of 2021?
I don't remember.
And do you remember saying to them that you were happy to be a volunteer and called it our finance group?
I don't remember.
Do you recall telling them that your husband had experience in finance and fintech?
I don't remember.
May we show her again the same document?
I don't remember.
We can take that down. And do you recall telling them about his extensive IT experience?
I don't recall.
And this is still in December of 2021. Do you recall that you started volunteering in December? Do you recall that?
I don't recall.
Do you recall that in December, on December 20th of 2021, you stopped volunteering? Do you recall that?
I don't recall.
Do you recall that your husband also stopped volunteering on December 20th of 2021?
I don't recall.
Now moving on to February of 2022, you were working at that time, correct?
When you say I working, can you help clarify?
Sure. First you were just working as a mother, correct?
No, I'm always working.
Mothering is work. I'm asking you. That's work. I'm acknowledging your work.
Mr. Finkel said, objection to the commentary.
Ms. Schrofa said, I'm trying to answer her question.
The court said, "Just ask the questions."
You worked at home, correct?
No, I always have a job. I don't understand what's your question. When you say work, can you help me understand? When you say work as a mom, what does that mean?
You looked after your child. You fed your child. You put him to bed, she, your children. You took care of them, right?
Mr. Finkel said, relevance objection.
Ms. Schrofa said, I'm literally trying to do what the witness asked.
The court said, "Overruled. What's the question?"
What's the question?
You had a full-time, correct?
Yes.
And then you worked at home also, correct?
When you say I work at home, meaning I take care of my kids at home?
Yes, that's work.
Yes.
Okay. And that was in February of 2022 as well, correct?
That's all the time when I have kids, I do that type of job.
And in February 2022, it was COVID time, was it? Do you remember?
Yes.
And at that time, were you actually physically going to work at that time during COVID?
I work remote.
And how long do you recall working remote?
Mr. Finkel said, relevance objection.
Ms. Schrofa said, I'll move on, Your Honor. I'll move forward. It's okay. As part of your volunteer work in 2022, Were you a volunteer?
Yes.
And you testified on direct, right, that you were working 10 hours at volunteering, correct?
What do you mean by 10 hours?
How many hours did you volunteer?
I testify on average I volunteer about 40 hours per week.
So on arrange you know what? I won't repeat it. And at this time you were also working remotely 40-hour weeks?
Yes, that's correct.
And there came a time when you had to submit timesheets for your volunteer work, right?
Yes.
And do you recall sitting here today that you submitted timesheets for 2,390 hours?
Me alone?
Yes,
The court said. Covering what period?
Ms. Schrofa said. I didn't hear.
The court said. 2,000 hours covering what period of time?
Ms. Schrofa said. For February.
The court said. For February alone?
Ms. Schrofa said. I'll see how she put it. You submitted timesheets to Discord, correct?
Yes.
And your Discord hours you noted as daily average working hours were 10, correct?
So my testimony talk about an average hours 40 hours between March 2022 and March 2023. So I work more hours during the period of March 2022 till September 2022, and less hours from September 2022 till March 2023. So by the time you say about 10 hours a day, that was during the time that I was working between March 2022 till September 2022.
Actually, it was February of 2022 to October of 2022, correct?
So maybe my recollection has a month off or so, but if you say that.
To be precise, it's February 26th of 2022 to October 22nd of 2022.
Okay. If you say February 26th, 2022, it's close to March, yeah. It's close to March, yes. So it's a few days off between you say starting on February 26th versus I say March 2022.
And that's all through COVID, right? March was COVID, right?
Yes.
April was COVID, right?
Mr. Finkel said, objection to the relevance. What are we doing?
The court said. Sustained.
You were working remotely during that time, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
The court said. Sustained.
You submitted these timesheets, right?
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
The court said. Sustained.
Who did you submit it to?
You said Discord. If that is true, I submit in Discord. I don't remember who I submitted it to.
And somebody in Discord contacted you about your timesheets, correct?
I don't remember.
They told you these were exaggerated timesheets, correct?
Sorry. What's your question?
They said you had inflated your timesheets, correct?
I don't recall that.
You don't recall them saying you couldn't possibly have put in all of those hours?
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
The court said. Sustained. Asked and answered.
You were in fact asked to describe what work you did as a volunteer, correct?
I think so.
Right. And you provided a description, correct?
I think so.
And they took issue with your description of the work you provided, correct?
They took an issue with?
They disagreed with you, correct?
I don't recall that.
And then did there come a time when you also stopped volunteering again?
There come a time that I stopped volunteering or started up.
Stopped.
I answered, March 2023.
And you stopped because the people in your group pushed back on your hours, correct?
That's incorrect.
So why did you stop?
Why did I stop?
Yes.
Back then, my parents' their house were not being doing very well. So I planned to take a step back and spend more time with them.
But that was in December of 2021, right? That's what you told the people on Discord in December of 2021?
That's what I told them in March of 2023.
Let me show you again this same document exhibit. Actually, I'll move on. When you decided to stop volunteering, did you tell anyone over Discord the reason why you stopped?
I messaged Octopus through the WhatsApp chat on March 2023.
But you and Octopus did not get along, correct?
I don't understand when you say do not get along. What does that mean?
Because you and Octopus and you and Faith Knight and you and Fei Fei had a disagreement about how you were calculating your volunteer hours and how they related to your H-coin allotment. Correct?
Mr. Finkel said, form objection.
That's incorrect.
The court said, overruled.
Let's look at your H-coin allotment, okay? You agree with me that the initial H-coin allotment was based on several factors, correct?
You didn't say what those factors are. You said it's based on several factors.
You know they were based on several factors. Do you know that or not?
Can you tell me those factors so I can answer your question yes or no?
Sure. One of the factors was the amount of volunteer work done, correct?
So the H-coin allotment was provided before H-coin launched in November 2021. So the volunteer work calculated is for the volunteer work done before November 1st, 2021. So back then, I did not even volunteer. So it's not have anything to do with my H-coin allotment.
We'll get there. I'm just talking about the initial allotment. Okay. The initial allotment you knew was based on volunteer work, correct?
I did not know.
How about did it depend on how much money you had invested?
That's what I know.
And then wasn't it also multiplied by a certain coefficient, correct? There was a formula that they used, correct?
Yes.
And the formula was either 0.5, 0.7, or 0.02, correct?
Yes.
And when you were doing the calculation for yourself, there was a disagreement about your particular calculation, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
The court said, sustained.
Ms. Schrofa said, I have not even touched the November portion of this allotment.
The court said, you've asked that question generally. Are you asking it with regard to a specific time?
Ms. Schrofa said, yes, Your Honor. I'm asking it about the time frame that the witness just referred to, which was the pre-period when it was calculated before H-coin was offered.
The court said, okay. You may answer.
So what's the question?
There was a disagreement as to your actual calculation, correct?
I have explained in my testimony yesterday, my investment got miscounted in H-coin allotment.
You believed it was miscounted and they did not agree with you, correct?
When you say they, who are you referring to?
The people who were in charge of allotments, they did not agree with you, correct?
Who are in charge of the H-coin allotment?
You tell me.
I don't know.
Well, they told you that they disagreed with your calculation?
Who told you they disagree with my calculation?
Ms. Chen.
I don't know who she's referring to, so I cannot answer her question. She told me they. But she didn't tell me who is they.
The court said, Ms. Schroff.
You did the calculation at a 0.7 rate, correct?
I didn't do the calculation at 0.7 rate. It was provided to me at 0.7 rate because I think they said the coin is gone, so I have no choice of doing the coin. I can only do the fund, and the fund is 0.7.
They told you specifically that your calculation should have been at the 0.2 rate, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, we've been through this.
The court said, you may answer.
I don't recall that.
Now, Ms. Chen, you are an active trader on the Himalaya exchange. Is that correct?
I'm not saying I'm active trader, but I do sell and buy because the price drops so much. So when it kind of get to the point it's just so low, I don't know what to do, so I do sell.
You had 90 buy transactions since the opening of your account, correct?
I don't remember that amount.
You made 80 sale transactions, correct?
I don't remember.
You were playing on the H-coin market to see if you could make a profit, correct?
That's incorrect.
What did you trade for if not to make a profit?
Incur as much as I can.
I'm sorry.
Have as much as I can.
Same thing, right?
It's different.
All told, you had 80 buys and 90 sales transactions, right?
I don't remember.
Well, you have access to your sales and your buys, right?
I haven't logged an account for a long time.
I didn't ask if you had logged in for a long time. My question was whether you had access to that information.
Yes.
By the way, did you and Mr. Finkel over there access this information to prepare for your testimony today?
No. The answer is no.
Ms. Chen, you testified on direct that you took a second loan on your home to purchase additional GV shares, correct?
Yes.
That was in December of 2021, is that right?
That's incorrect.
Well, you tell me the correct date?
I think yesterday I said it's the Crane Advisory. That was in March of 2021.
You think you took your second home loan in March of 2021? I just want to get the month right.
Mr. Finkel said, objection. I think it's mischaracterizing what was just said.
I'll ask the question again. In what month did you take your second loan on your home to purchase additional GV shares?
Mr. Finkel said, objection to form. Year 2, right?
The court said, put in the year, please.
2021?
Mr. Finkel said, objection to the testimony. Ms. Schroff can ask the question.
Ms. Schroff said, you told me to put a year.
The court said, so the month and the date that you're asking about, Ms. Schroff.
Ms. Schroff said, I'm asking her what month and date she took the loan out. I'm asking her the question.
The court said, okay. You may answer.
If I remember correctly, I think it's March 2021.
And at that time in March of 2021, you also owned a townhouse in Falls Church, Virginia, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, objection to the relevance.
The court said, does this have to do with the home equity loan?
Ms. Schroff said, no, this is her other assets.
Mr. Finkel said, highly irrelevant.
The court said, sustained.
But you had other assets, right?
Mr. Finkel said, same objection.
The court said, sustained.
Did you invest in real estate, Ms. Chen?
Mr. Finkel said, same objection.
The court said, sustained.
Ms. Schroff said, Your Honor, may we have a sidebar?
Mr. Finkel said, I don't think one is needed.
The court said, okay.
Continued on next page. At the sidebar.
Ms. Schroff said, Your Honor, the jury is left with an impression that she took a second loan on her home. And as a result of that, there should be some sort of sympathetic reaction to somebody taking a second loan. The same person can take a second loan on a home because it seems like a financially astute thing to do or a financially solvent thing to do. I think it's fair for the jury to know that she had options, and she was an investor in real estate. She actually leased out and rented out these properties. And all told, she had 9 properties in the state of Virginia. It simply goes to take away that sympathy factor that the government created by asking how and why she took a second loan so she could buy GV shares.
The court said, I think the government is merely establishing that she used these funds to make a purchase and that she was defrauded. Not that the jury should feel sympathy. The prosecution is using this for a finding of fraud.
Ms. Schroff said, but a second loan on an apartment wouldn't be irrelevant. It's her money.
The court said, the question of how she made the payment is relevant, but whether or not she has other types of investment, I don't agree is relevant, so let's move on.
Continued on next page. In open court, jury present. By Ms. Schroff.
Ms. Chen, on direct examination you recall testifying about the email you sent about the Hamilton Fund, correct?
Sorry. I missed part of the question. Can you repeat?
You testified on direct about emails you sent to Mr. Fallon, correct?
So you mean I emailed Mr. Fallon, right? That's your question? You said I testified I emailed Mr. Fallon?
Yes.
Yes, I email him.
And you emailed him and your husband also emailed him, correct?
Let me put this way, we emailed Mr. Fallon.
And you testified on direct that Mr. Fallon didn't reply but sent you to a lawyer, correct?
I testify Mr. Fallon didn't respond and then his lawyer responded.
And the lawyer told you that the funds you were seeking return of were frozen, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, objection, hearsay.
Ms. Schroff said, it's not being offered for the truth.
The court said, I'll allow the question.
What's the question?
He told you the funds were frozen, correct?
He told me my money was frozen, yes.
And you disagreed, right?
Right.
And you kept emailing that the funds were not frozen, correct?
I explain it.
And they disagreed with you, correct?
They saying the same thing, my money was frozen.
And at the same time that you were emailing Mr. Fallon and his lawyer, you were also emailing the Department of Justice, correct?
I don't think, when you say emailing, what do you mean emailing?
In May of 2023, you were in touch with the United States Attorney's Office, right?
I do not think so.
Well, let me see. You don't think you were in touch with the United States Attorney's Office. These prosecutors in May of 2023?
So I follow the website on DOJ, where they have a link to submit victim information. So I filled out information following that link. And at the same time, they have an email address that I email them letting them know that I completed information. In addition, that form does not include a specific investment item I have. So therefore, I'm including that specific investment item in the email that I sent to the victim mailbox.
And Mr. Finkel works for the Department of Justice, right?
I actually don't know. I guess yes. I don't know.
Who do you think he works for?
I don't know.
Do you think he works for Mr. Gua?
No.
So who do you think he works for?
He works for the government.
Okay. And that's the email address you emailed, right? In May of 2023, right?
I email one that is available on the DOJ website. It's victim mailbox, specifically just for the victim.
And then after that you followed up by sending emails to the FBI, right?
No, I did not.
Let's show you 3602 to 26. Does that refresh your recollection that in June of 2023 you met with FBI D. Marino?
Mr. Finkel said, objection. The question was about May, not June.
Ms. Schrofa said, I was off by a month. June of 2023. Did you meet with the FBI agent?
So you're asking me my recollection, asking me to read this document?
I'm just asking you if you met with the FBI Mr. D. Marino. Do you remember?
Someone reached out to me from FBI and I met them. To answer your question, I did not email FBI. So I sent the email to the victim mailbox and then FBI reached out to me and scheduled a meeting.
After he reached out to you, you emailed back and forth with the FBI agent, correct?
I don't know when you say email back and forth.
Which FBI did you email yesterday?
You just want to know the name?
Yes.
I emailed yesterday. I didn't email any FBI yesterday.
When is the last time you emailed an FBI agent?
Don't remember.
Did you text an FBI agent yesterday?
You just asked me the name of my FBI agent, right?
Yes.
You want me to tell the name now?
Yes.
It's Nick.
Nick what? Or do you just call him Nick?
I just call him Nick.
And this is the same Nick that you met in June of 2023?
I met Nick, but I don't remember when I met Nick.
Let me show you the same document again, 3602 to 26. Does the top of the document refresh your recollection that you met with Nick?
Yes, I think it's a WebEx source.
And you've been in touch with Nick all the way consistently through June of 2023, correct?
That's incorrect. I not contact him consistently. I think I only met him one time. And I don't hear from him for a very long time. I don't remember when he reached out to me again.
Well, do you remember meeting with him again in early February of 2024?
So you talk about after I met with Nick in June, about 8 months later we met again?
Yes, I'm asking you if you remember having Nick as a point person for you from June of 2023 to today. You may not have talked to him every day, but you've known him for the whole time period, correct?
The court said, there's so many questions in there. First you ask if he was the point person. Why don't you answer that question?
Yes, he's the point person.
You were in contact with him since June of 2023, correct?
Yes.
You had an interview with him and with the prosecutors on February 4th of this year, correct?
I don't remember.
February 27th of this year, correct?
I don't remember.
April 23rd of this year, correct?
I don't remember.
May 6th of this year, correct?
I don't remember.
May 13th of this year, correct?
I don't remember.
June 3rd of this year?
I don't remember.
June 23rd of this year?
Yes.
How about yesterday?
Yesterday, you mean, do I meet with them?
Yes.
Briefly right before the court time, yeah, MMHM.
But you met with Mr. Finkel and he showed you documents yesterday, right?
I said I met him briefly.
And during that brief meeting, he showed you documents, correct?
Yes.
And you reviewed the documents with him, right?
I did not review the document. He showed me the document. That's it.
And then he asked you questions about the document, right? He didn't just show you and that's it. He actually asked you questions?
Yes, I think we only met for 10 minutes or so. So, yes, it's a few questions.
So he asked you about 2 documents that he showed you, right?
I don't remember how many documents.
And then he asked you questions and you answered them, correct?
Yes.
He took notes, right?
I don't think so.
And you met him right in this building, right?
Yesterday morning, yes.
And in all of these meetings that you met with him, you never once told him about Ivy, correct?
That's incorrect. He never asked me about the nickname I use at the Discord.
You also never told him that you were active on Discord, correct?
He didn't ask me if I am active. He didn't ask me about the Discord. He didn't even ask me that.
So he didn't ask you and you didn't tell him, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
The court said, sustained.
You didn't voluntarily tell him about Discord, correct?
The court said, sustained.
Ms. Schrofa said, that's a different question, Your Honor.
The court said, sustained.
How long did you stay on Discord after you started talking to the government?
Mr. Finkel said, relevance objection.
The court said, you may answer.
I don't remember.
You don't remember being active in Discord even until today?
I don't know if I'm still on Discord because I don't, Discord. I don't know. I don't know. Seriously, I don't know.
How many farms do you visit as a visitor on Discord?
I don't know.
10?
I don't know.
15?
I don't know. I answered. I have answered, I don't know.
The court said, sustained.
You were a visitor on Discord at the Himalaya New York Rock Farm, correct?
I don't remember.
How about the Nuremberg Justice Farm? Do you remember being a visitor on that farm this year?
The court said, overruled. You may answer.
This year, I don't think so.
How about last year?
Last year, I don't remember. I don't think so.
How about the Himalaya Melbourne Afinasik Farm?
Do you mean last year?
All the way till today, you're still a visitor on that farm, correct?
I don't know.
How about the Himalaya New Zealand Farm?
I don't know.
How about the Himalaya 77 Engineer Farm?
I don't know.
How about the Rule of Law Foundation?
I don't know.
How about the Rule of Law Society?
I don't know.
Ms. Chen, is it fair to say that if Mr. Finkel did not ask you a question about a specific topic, you did not bring it up?
So.
Just yes or no would be great.
Can you repeat that question?
The court said, I'll allow the answer.
What's the question again?
You testified moments ago that Mr. Finkel did not ask you about Discord, and therefore you did not discuss that topic, correct?
Yes.
Were there other topics that he simply didn't ask you about that you did not volunteer about pertaining to this case?
The court said, sustained.
Did you tell him about the role your husband played in all of these interactions?
I don't remember.
And your husband has never spoken to Mr. Finkel, correct?
That's correct.
Ms. Schrofa said, I have nothing further, Your Honor.
The court said, redirect.
Redirect examination. By Mr. Finkel.
Ms. Chen, approximately how many meetings have you had with me?
I guess 6 or 8, between 6 or 8.
And were those meetings, how many of those meetings were online or in person?
I think we have 2 in person and the rest are online.
And during those meetings, Did we talk about Harry Potter?
No.
Did we talk about the New York Jets?
No.
What is the general topic of information that we discuss?
Mr. Finkel asks a question and I provide answer.
And what were the general topics of information I ask you questions about?
Related to the investments.
Ms. Schroff asked you some questions about trading you may have done on the Himalaya exchange. You recall those questions?
Yes.
Have you been able to withdraw any real money from the Himalaya exchange?
Ms. Schroff said, objection to what is real money.
The court said, if you'll define what you consider to be real money.
Have you been able to withdraw any United States money, United States dollars from the Himalaya exchange?
Ms. Schroff said, since from what time period?
Ever?
No.
What about pounds, British pounds? Have you been able to withdraw any British pounds?
No.
What about Swiss francs?
No.
Have you ever been able to withdraw any fiat currency from the Himalaya exchange?
No.
So those trades you haven't profited any real money from, correct?
That's correct.
If we can pull up VK5 at page 10. Ms. Chen. Do you remember being asked questions by Ms. Schroff on cross-examination about this page?
Yes.
Do you see where it says use of proceeds?
Yes.
Does it say under use of proceeds invest $100 million into Heyman Capital?
Ms. Schroff said, Your Honor, I have an objection. I think the government knows the document speaks for itself.
The court said, overruled. You may answer.
No, I don't see it.
After reviewing this document, reviewing Miles Gua videos online.
Ms. Schroff said, objection to the leading.
The court said, I haven't heard a question yet.
After considering the information in this document and Miles Gua's videos online, what was your understanding of what your investment in GTV would be used for?
Would be used according to the description of the usage of the proceeds in this chart.
If you had known that the money you had sent to Miles Gua to Soraka would be used to invest $100 million in a hedge fund in the name of his son, would you have sent your approximately $200,000 investment?
No.
Ms. Schroff said, objection. It's beyond the scope and it's been asked and answered.
The court said, overruled.
No.
If we can go back to page 2, I think, Ms. Loftus. Sorry, page 1, page 3. You see that information below it says contact details?
Yes.
And there's a WhatsApp text number at the bottom.
Yes.
And then, there's an address 162 East 164th Street?
Yes.
Have you ever been there to the offices that are indicated on this document?
No.
We can take that down. If we can display for the witness what's been marked for identification as VB36. Do you recognize this, Ms. Chen?
Yes.
What is it?
This is the WhatsApp chat I spoke to earlier that Miles was sent the GTV investment information, including wire instruction to my husband.
Mr. Finkel said, government offers VB36.
Ms. Schroff said, no objection.
The court said, okay, it is admitted.
Government's Exhibit VB36 received in evidence. By Mr. Finkel.
Can we publish that, please? Ms. Chen, is this a WhatsApp chat?
Yes.
And is it this chat that you and your husband used to communicate with Miles Gua about the GTV investment?
Yes.
And what language did you communicate with Miles Gua in?
In Mandarin.
You can take that down. Do you remember being asked some questions by Ms. Schroff about the coefficient that you had to multiply your prior investments in to make a determination as to how much H coin you were entitled to through the MOS farm? Do you remember questioning about that?
Yes.
What is your understanding, if anything? Sitting here today, why trying to calculate the amount of H coin you were owed was so complicated.
It's on purpose.
Why do you believe that sitting here today?
So that you can never calculate the H coin each person is entitled to correctly.
At the time that you were filling out that form, Ms. Chen, what was your understanding of what the coefficient even was?
I have no idea what it is.
If we could put up VB16, which is in evidence. Do you remember being asked questions about this document by Ms. Schroff?
Yes.
Can you read the second paragraph, please, that begins, I purchased?
I purchased the G Club membership because it was marked as an investment with stock and shares. However, I never received any stock or shares, nor did I receive any membership benefits. Therefore, I think this is an investment fraud. I am sending this cancellation notice to request a refund.
Did you get a refund, Ms. Chen?
No.
Do you still think that it was an investment fraud?
Yes.
We can take that down. Ms. Chen, you were asked some questions about chats you had with Octopus and someone else on Discord. Is that correct? Do you remember being asked those questions?
Yes.
And those chats were in 2021. Is that correct?
Yes.
And Ms. Schroff was asking you questions about specific words used in a chat from December 2021. Is that right?
Yes.
And sitting here today, do you remember the specific words you used in a chat from 2.5 years ago?
No.
If we can put up what's in evidence as VB31. Do you remember being asked questions about the timing of your investments and your investments in Miles Gua investment project?
Yes.
Do you recognize this document, Ms. Chen?
Yes.
Who created this document?
I create this document.
What is reflected on this document?
This reflects all the money I give to this fraud.
And so column 1 reflects the various entities or projects that you sent money to. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what does column 2 reflect?
Reflect the payment amount I send each of the fraud program.
Ms. Chen, sitting here today and reflecting on the money you sent to these various investment projects. How do you feel about your decision, the decision you made back then to invest?
I feel very regretted. I blame myself that why was I so stupid to be brainwashed and trusted a fraudster and send all the money to all the different entities. That's all part of a fraud scheme.
Ms. Chen, sitting here today, are you also angry about the money you lost?
It's hard feeling. It's extremely painful, and I don't know how to describe the feeling. It's hurting a lot.
Ms. Chen, you said just a moment ago that you felt like you were brainwashed. What are the things that happened to you that you think caused you to be brainwashed by Miles Gua?
Ms. Schroff said, objection to the form.
The court said, overruled. You may answer.
I think it is a messaging. Keeping repeating and emphasizing in your mind that make you believe it is true and make you believe it is true without any doubt. I don't know how it happened, but unfortunately it happened to me. That messaging is repeating. It's emphasizing. It's instilling in my mind, make me trusted every single thing and make me acting as an idiot back then.
Ms. Chen, when you were a follower of Miles Gua, approximately how many videos or broadcasts or articles about Miles Gua did you watch?
I don't remember.
Approximately?
Approximately hundreds.
And your husband and you watched videos too?
Yes.
And your husband discussed Miles Gua?
Yes.
And discussed these investments?
Yes.
And the two of you made a decision together to invest in these investments?
Yes.
Would you make the same decision today?
Would I make the same decision today?
Sitting here today, knowing what you know, would you make the same decision today to invest in these?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Because this is fraud. Everything, every program that Miles Wood designed, created and promoted, including all the entities here, are a fraud.
Mr. Finkel said, I have nothing further. Thank you, Ms. Chen.
The court said recross.
Cross-examination. By Ms. Schrofa.
Ms. Chen, what is getter?
Mr. Finkel said, objection, scope.
Ms. Schrofa said, she said all of this is a big fraud.
The court said, I'll allow the question. Go ahead.
What is getter?
She made a statement of something I did not say. I said all the programs.
Ms. Schrofa said, Your Honor, it's a question for the witness. Getter.
The court said, you can answer the question. What is?
My understanding, it's a social media platform.
And it is a social media platform today, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, scope.
The court said, overruled. You may answer.
Mr. Finkel said, also there's like a feedback. I don't know whose microphone that is.
I guess so.
How about G-fashion? What is G-fashion?
The court said, sustained.
Ms. Schrofa said, she said everything was a fraud.
I didn't say that. I say all the money I sent to those. That's what I'm saying. I did not say that.
The court said, sustained.
G-fashion was an access that you had through G-Club, correct?
The court said, sustained.
Let's see VB 36. You were shown this video, correct, Ms. Chen?
Yes.
And Mr. Finkel asked you in what language you spoke to Mr. Gua, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Gua speaks terrible English, correct?
I don't know.
You never had a conversation with Mr. Gua, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, objection.
The court said, the question is whether or not she's had a conversation with Mr. Gua. You may answer.
When you say conversation, are you saying have I talked to him?
That's a conversation, to talk to someone.
I've been in meetings with him.
My question is, have you ever had a conversation with Mr. Gua?
No. The answer is no.
You were asked questions about the coefficient, correct? You can take that down. Jorge. Thank you. And you told Mr. Finkel and this jury that you thought the formula used was on purposely complicated so that nobody can ever calculate their amount. That's what you said, right?
That's not what I said.
Well, you tell me what you said.
I said the H-coin allotment calculation is based on the investment. And there's a coefficient goes with the investment. There are so many different investment projects out there. Some of them are still not either being part of the fair fund distribution or some other reasons that there's no way to calculate the true benefits of all the confirmed investment in order to calculate the confirmed H-coin allocation.
Didn't you say on direct that you thought it was purposely complicated so that nobody can ever calculate it? Isn't that what you just said?
As I said, yes, that's what I said.
Okay, so let's try this way. You know that there were audit committees at the farms, right?
Mr. Finkel said, scope objection.
Ms. Schrofa said, it is part of the coefficient question that Mr. Finkel pushed.
The court said, go ahead.
There were audits conducted, correct?
Yes.
There were audit committees, correct?
I don't know what you mean by audit committees. I know there are audits.
Weren't you part of the audit committee?
No.
You did not check and do audits on whether or not the H-coin was properly allocated.
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
The court said, sustained.
Ru Shui was part of the audit committee, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, scope.
I don't know if Ru Shui is part of audit, and then I explain my role. My role is to verify if the H-coin for the MOS farm members were calculated correctly. And based on my volunteer experience, I think the design of calculating H-coin quota is so complicated in the design that complicated for purposes so that it can never get H-coin calculated or confirmed correctly.
But you calculated it, correct, while you were doing this evaluation.
I say I re-verify it, but...
To re-verify something, you have to undertake a calculation, correct?
Right.
And you did it as a volunteer, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, Your Honor, ask Ms. Schroff to allow the witness to answer the question. and to just pose a question and just let her answer instead of just.
The court said, go ahead and answer.
You did it as a volunteer, correct? Yes or no?
What's your question?
You verified as a volunteer, correct? You undertook verification process as a volunteer, correct?
That's incorrect, because I verified H-Coin. But an H-Coin verification is never ending, because there are monies still out there have not been sent back to Miles Gua. So therefore, even though I verify the coin to the extent, by the time I no longer volunteer, that coin is not the final coin each person is entitled to.
That wasn't my question, but okay. My question to you was, you were part of the verification process, correct? It's a simple question.
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
The court said, sustained.
Ru Shui was part of that process, correct?
The court said, sustained.
Fei Fei was part of that process, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, scope.
Ms. Schrofa said, same scope that you opened the door to. Fei Fei was part of that process, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, I don't think I opened that door.
The court said, not to this.
Little Sarah was part of that process, correct?
The court said, sustained.
When Mr. Finkel asked you what coefficient was used, you said, and I quote, you have no idea. That was your question on redirect, right? That was your response. You remember that?
Mr. Finkel said, mischaracterizes.
Ms. Schrofa said, I don't think so.
The court said, I'll let you answer. Go ahead.
You said you had no idea, correct?
I have no idea why design like that. I think it's overly complicated.
You never told anybody that the whole time that you volunteered for them, right? Never once did you say, this is too complicated, redesign it, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, relevance.
The court said, sustained.
Did you ever express what you said to the jury now to anyone at the Mountain of Spice Farm?
The court said, sustained.
Let me show you VB 16. You see this, Mr. Finkel asked you questions about this document?
Yes.
And the left-hand side is your and your husband's joint email address, correct?
Yes.
And on the side over there gives you the date of May 14th, correct?
Yes.
2023, right?
Yes.
And you wrote this email, correct?
We wrote this email.
Right. And you wrote it because you wanted your money back, correct?
We wrote the email to get my money, to ask for refund.
And if you had written, I purchased G Club membership and I have simply changed my mind, you would never get your money back, right?
Mr. Finkel said, calls for speculation irrelevant.
The court said, sustained.
You drafted this because you thought this is the best shot at you getting your money back, right?
I drafted this because I want my money back.
Exactly. And you thought this language would help you get your money back?
Mr. Finkel said, objection.
The court said, you may answer.
I put this language because that's what I believe is true. I purchased GTV shares and the G Club membership was given as free, so I am just telling the truth here. It was promoted as GTV share investment. I have gained nothing. So I need my money back because my money was into the so-called G Club account.
No, it was sent to G Club membership account, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, that's argumentative.
The court said, sustained.
Where does it say in this email that G Club was going to be free?
What's your question?
Where in this email do you see that G Club was meant to be free? Let's scroll down for you. You see the word free anywhere in here? I'll move on. Let's go to the next document.
Mr. Finkel said, I object. It mischaracterizes testimony.
Ms. Schrofa said, the document speaks for itself. The email is dated May 2023?
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
The court said, sustained.
When was Mr. Gua arrested?
March 2023.
And you sent this after his arrest, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, objection, court's ruling.
The court said, overruled.
You sent it after his arrest, right?
Yes.
Let's go to GXVB 31. You talked about the summary chart, right?
Yes.
Mr. Finkel went over this with you?
This is the chart I put together. No one went over with me.
You never discussed this chart with him when you met him in his office?
There's no need to discuss the chart. It's just an outline of the payment.
I didn't ask you if it was discussed.
I didn't discuss.
And you sent this document to him, correct?
Yes.
And you sent it to your friend Nick at the FBI, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, objection.
You sent it to the FBI agent?
The court said, sustained. There's no evidence that they're friends.
Do you consider him a friend? Do you consider him your friend?
No, he's not someone I know.
But you don't consider him a friend?
Mr. Finkel said, asked and answered.
The court said, sustained.
Let's look at this document you created. You created this, right?
Yes.
And you put all of this information, right?
Yes.
And who did you first send this document to?
This document I think first I sent, I don't remember who I sent this document to. I think I sent it to Nick, yes, MMHM.
And you were also asked by Mr. Finkel, were you ever able to get your H-coin investment money back or redeem it for pounds or yen? You remember that question?
Yes.
The first time you ever tried to do that was in May of 2023, correct?
Mr. Finkel said, objection to relevance.
The court said, you may answer.
You mean the redemption?
Yep.
Yes.
After Mr. was arrested, correct?
Yes.
After his indictment, correct?
After I realize it's a fraud, because I read indictment document. He's using my money to pay for his luxury item.
After you read it in the indictment, correct?
Yes.
And an indictment is nothing but a piece of paper accusing someone, right?
Mr. Finkel said, objection.
The court said, sustained. Don't ask her for legal conclusions.
Ms. Schrofa said, I'm asking for her understanding, Your Honor.
Mr. Finkel said, it was sustained is my understanding.
The court said, sustained.
Ms. Schrofa said, I have nothing further.
Mr. Finkel said, nothing further. Thank you, Ms. Chen.
The court said, thank you. You may step out of the courtroom.
Witness excused.